Hi everyone! If you have ever struggled with large dahlias being too fragile, this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to make these oversized blooms sturdy and easy to handle. No more loose petals or fragile centers. Let's get started. Before moving ahead, let's quickly get into some of the tools that we will use today. We need a foam mat, a 6 cm daisy cutter, dahlia petal cutters which are 4.5, 5 and 6 centimeters in length. Also today we are going to use two kinds of dressing tools. If you don't have both of them, just use the second one. The first one is a JEM resin tool which is pointier and helps to achieve lovely curved petals. We have the Reno on one side and the dressing tool on the other. Along with that, I'm using a more common resin tool as well, which has a flatter head and helps to thin out the petal without curling it too much. All the materials for this tutorial are listed in the description box below, so have a look. Now without further delay, let's get started. Using a pair of pliers, make a small hook with a 20 gauge wire. Next, take a 3 cm styrofoam ball and poke the wire through it. Make sure the wire is not bobbing up on the surface. We will use bright pink gum paste for this flower. Make sure it is nice and pliable. Roll this out to 1.5 mm thickness. Here the gum paste is a bit sticky, so I'm going to dust it with a little cornstarch. Now apply a bit of edible glue across the surface. Cover the ball with the gum paste. Oops, let's make this a bit neater. Trim the extra gum paste with a pair of scissors. Gently push down and remove any excess gum paste. Smoothen everything out nicely with your fingers. This wire is just a bit too long, so I'm going to shorten it. Using the pointed end of the resin tool, make sharp marks from the center down towards the base. This step is optional, but I would highly recommend you to do so. Okay, now for the first layer, take a 6 cm daisy cutter. The cutter is going to be around double the size of the ball. We'll roll out the same color gum paste to 1 mm thickness. We're going to make one cutout for the first layer. The gum paste is a bit sticky over here, so I'm going to just dust it with a little more cornstarch. We want the edges to be as clean and neat as possible. We will use a small ball tool to elongate the petals. Keep light pressure on the center of the flower so that the flower doesn't shift around while you are working on the petals. Now use your large ball tool and widen the center nicely. Next, use your X-Acto and split the petals lengthwise. Be careful, these blades can be very sharp, so you could easily hurt yourself. Use the Dresden tool to curl and elongate the petals further. Maintain steady pressure and just move with confidence. Make sure that the petals are not sticking to each other. We want really nice and pretty curvy petals for this layer. Now apply some edible glue to the center and to the length of the petals. Never apply any edible glue on the tips of the petals. Now poke the wire through the center and gently place your layer, flip the flower and gather all the petals towards the top. You want a nice closed bud over here. Use your Dresden tool and just push everything towards the center. Arrange it nicely. And your first layer is all complete now. We will repeat the same process for the second layer. The only difference is that the center is going to be a bit smaller. This is so that the first layer is going to peek out a little bit after we fix this layer. We are once again going to thread our gum paste. Flip and then push all the petals lightly towards the center. Let the flower hang upside down for a bit so that everything dries a little bit before we move ahead. We're just going to press down on a few points to fix the layer in place a little bit more. You should be able to see the first layer after the second layer is all set. The third layer is once again made in the same way, just that the center is a tiny bit smaller than the last layer. Make sure to adjust the layer in such a way that your first and second layer can peek through. We will now hang the flower upside down and let it dry fully before moving ahead. For the fourth layer, we have a 2 mm thick daisy cutout which we will cut into 4 equal parts. Place your finger at the base of the petal. This will just help the petal not to break away from the center. Now we will run the Dresden tool along one edge, then the center, and then on the other edge. We want the petals to be curved inwards and a little pointy on the tips. We are going to shape the petals just like this for the rest of the 3 sections. Apply glue only to half of the length of the petal and to the center. Always make sure to dab off any excess, otherwise the extra moisture will just ruin the shape of your petals. Notice how you can see all the 3 layers clearly over here. We will attach this layer 3 to 4 mm higher than the last layer. To fix these petals, just put a little bit of pressure on the base and don't try to stick the petals to the bud too much. Let them just hang organically and they will attach themselves to the flower. We have used the same color gum paste throughout the 4 layers. We haven't put any lighter layers as yet. Once this layer is fully attached, we're gonna let it hang upside down overnight and let it dry fully. Next, we use gum paste, which is a touch lighter than the last layer. Roll this out to 1 mm thickness and grab your daisy cutter, which is 4.5 centimeters in length. We need 7 petals for this layer. Cut 1 or 2 extra petals for each layer just in case there are any breakages. Now run your large ball tool over the edge first, then repeat this with the small ball tool. We want the edges to be nice and delicate. We are going to continue to use the same color gum paste all the way till the 9th layer. The reason is that we want the flower to be nice and bright. We don't want a very light or dull dahlia. Okay, now similar to the last layer, we'll go over one edge, then the center a couple of times, and then lastly the other edge. Once again, we are looking to curve the petals inwards. The tip of the petal will still remain nice and pointy. Just pinch the base of the petal to finish it off. We will repeat this process for all the remaining petals. Now just apply a bit of edible glue to the base of all the petals. Make sure that the petals are holding their shape before you try to attach them. This is going to be layer number 5. We will start positioning the new layer of petals so that they sit right in between the two petals from our previous row. This layer is also going to sit 3 to 4 mm higher than the previous layer. Observe how I am only pressing the base of the petal and the sides. I'm not trying to attach or flatten out the petal at all. Once done, hang upside down and let this dry before moving ahead. For layer number 6, we will make the petals in the same way except one extra step. Make the petal and let it sit for a few seconds before doing this. Use the Dresden tool and just lightly flatten the edges. This will make the petal look more open. Let's watch that again. Remember to keep the pressure light. This will be layer number 6 and we'll make 7 to 8 petals for this layer. We will also apply some edible glue to the bud. The petal will sit naturally in between the petals from the last layer. Just keep attaching the petals organically. Once again, we will hang the flower upside down and let it dry fully before moving ahead. Now grab your 5 cm petal cutter and cut out 7 to 8 petals. This layer is about 2 mm thick. Now we'll keep half the ball tool on the mat and thin out the edge first. Then we're going to thin out the rest of the petal. We don't want to frill the petals, we're just looking at thinning them out. Now flip the petal. Use the flat Dresden tool for this step. We will use the pointed Dresden tool a little later. Push the rounded tip and run it along the edge. Now repeat the same on the other side. Flip it again. Now we texturize with the pointed Dresden tool. Just go along the indentations and then in the center. Pinch the base of the petal to finish. We will start attaching the petals once they can hold their shape. Bit of edible glue to the base. We will move ahead once everything dries up nicely. Dust the base with a bit of cornstarch, it will help to dry it out faster. We're ready for the next layer now. The petals for this row are made in the exact same way as the last layer, but you could make them just a little bit wider. We have made 7 petals with 1 extra petal for this layer. We're attaching the petals in the same way again as the last layer. Always arrange the petals so that they look as natural as possible. We don't want any flat petals, so be careful while attaching them. For the 9th layer, we will roll out the gum paste to around 2 to 3 mm thick. Now using our 6 cm petal cutter, we will cut out 14 to 16 petals. That is 2 petals for every petal to be made. We are going to be using wire petals from this layer onwards. For that we will need 26 gauge white wire cut into 1/3. Now we will apply some edible glue to the petal. Now fix the wire right across the middle. lay another petal on the top. Line it the best you can and just press it down. After a few seconds, roll them down to half the thickness. We're going to make the cutout again and make sure that the wire is straight across the petal. This feels a bit thicker than it should be, so let's just fix that. We'll roll it out again and feel for the wire, make a cutout around 5 to 6 mm from the tip of the wire. I'm just going to pinch the tip to secure the wire to the petal. Now roll it out till it doubles in size. The final thickness is going to be around 2 mm thick. We will thin out the edge of the petal first. We don't want the base to be too thin. Keep the center relatively thick and make sure you're not going over the wire. Pull out the tip and elongate your petal. Flip the petal. Dust the tip with a bit of cornstarch. Start by applying pressure from the tip and move towards the base in a swift motion. Do the same on the other side. Now flip again. Now we'll texturize the petal. First use your dusting tool and then use the veiner. The veiner is going to give you sharp lines across the petal, so it will give you a little more definition. Apply a bit of edible glue to the base. Now fold over and make a tiny conical shape at the base of the petal. We are going to make 7 to 8 petals for this layer as well. Now we dry the petals on some bumpy foam till they start holding their shape. Now hold the wired part of your petals and bend towards the base. I'm going to do this for all the petals. Move your petals around until the placement feels just right. Once you're happy with the position of the petal, just push the wire towards the base to fix it. Next, we will use some green floral tape to attach our petals. Wrap the floral tape around a couple of times and hold the wire tightly. Don't worry about it being loose at the top, we're going to fix that in a bit. Continue to attach the petals organically. Taping wire petals to large flowers can be a little challenging, but it gets easier once you get the hang of it. I have used 7 petals for this layer. Once all the petals are attached, we're going to finish taping the rest of the stem. I used the same color gum paste to fully secure the petals at the base. I will show you how to do this in the next layer. Now moving on to the last layer. I have made 7 petals in the same way as the previous layer, but I have decided to take a slightly darker pink here. It's unconventional, but it gives a bit of color pop to frame the flower nicely. You could just continue to use the lighter pink that we have been using if you like. We're going to attach the petals in the same way that we did with the last layer. You can clearly see the color variation between the 2 layers. We will apply a bit of edible glue to the wire petals as well so that they can sit and fix themselves nicely. I have used 7 petals for this layer. I feel like there's room for one more petal actually, so let's go ahead and make that. But in the meantime, let me show you how to fix the petals with a little bit of gum paste. So I'm taking a small piece of gum paste and I'm going to apply a little bit of edible glue all the way around the base. Now I'm going to wrap the gum paste around the base first. Next, we are going to wedge the gum paste in between the petals with our Dresden tool so that all the movement is just going to stop over there. We want to get the gum paste in between any gaps that we see. Then merge the piece of gum paste into your petals slowly and lightly. We're going to try and make it look as smooth as possible. By securing the base here, we are not only preventing breakages, but we are also giving ourselves a much sturdier flower, which is going to be easier to handle. Okay, so this is where we're going to fix the last petal. And with that, all the heavy lifting is done. We're going to move on to the fun stuff now. I recommend drying the flower for at least 24 hours before we start the shading. For the next part, I need 2 small flat brushes, a soft round brush, and a round mop brush. We're going to start with a little bit of cornstarch. Now we're taking some cherry red dust, and we also have some beautiful fuchsia pink color. And lastly, a little bit of summer yellow color. We want a nice bright yellow for this. I'm going to start with loosening up the yellow with a little bit of cornstarch. We don't want any lumps in the colors. Okay, dust off any excess. So we're going to start from the center and then move the brush in an upward motion. We are starting by creating a color variation for our petals from the 6th layer onwards. Want a little more yellow towards the center and the portion where the shadows are going to fall naturally. We don't want too much dust though, because that can make it look very dusty and not very natural. Gonna put a little bit on the tips. The pink and the yellow will mix to give us a beautiful coral color. While shading, you always want to start with the base layer so the highlights and everything just develops naturally as you go along. Work your way around the flower and repeat the same technique as you go. You can see the yellow has already given the flower so much depth and color variation. Next, we're going to work with the fuchsia pink color. We're just going to dust the tips of the center. The idea is to create a blushing effect for the bud over here. Make sure you highlight all the curves. The small flat brush, like you can see, is going to allow you to get into the crevices and create nice depth for your flower. Catch all the edges of the petals so that they pop beautifully. You will get into all the folds as well, so that's going to enhance the shape of the petal. Get the color on both sides of the petal, a little bit on the back as well. This video has been shot in natural daylight, so you're going to see a little bit of variation in the brightness throughout the video. Don't worry about that. Lastly, now we're going to use our cherry red color for the highlights. Now we will hold the small flat brush perpendicular and make short strokes on the outer petals to build up the highlights. The darker tips on the outer layers is going to give you a nice natural look, but we don't want all the petals to look the same, so you can just skip a couple of petals if you like. I like to soften the look by adding a touch of yellow petal dust to the highlights. It really helps the colors to blend together naturally. Use this technique to refine and add finishing touches to the dahlia. I hope this tutorial was easy to follow. Thank you for your support and for watching today.